On the morning you turn 65, a clock starts that most people never hear ticking. It runs for exactly 6 months, and it opens only once in your entire life. During those 6 months, any Medigap insurer in the country has to say yes to you. They cannot pull your medical records, they cannot charge you more for a bad knee, and they cannot turn you away. Once that window closes, the rule flips. In 46 states, insurers can look at your health history and simply say, no. They can deny you, surcharge you, or refuse to cover the one condition you actually have. There is no appeal, no late enrollment do-over, no second window. You could be sitting on a healthy retirement account and still hear the word no. This is not a fee you can pay to fix. It is a door, and once it shuts, it stays shut. Most Medicare mistakes cost you money. This one can cost you the right to be covered at all. So here's the question nobody sits you down to ask. What happens if you treat Medicare like a paperwork chore, one you handle whenever you get around to it? The honest answer is that Medicare is not one sign-up. It is a calendar. It is a stack of deadlines that each carry their own price for being late. Most of us are trained to think of insurance as something you can shop for anytime. You lose a job, you buy a plan. You move, you buy a plan. That instinct is exactly the problem. Medicare does not work like the job insurance you once had. It rewards the on-time and punishes the late. Miss the wrong one, and you do not just pay a fee this year. You can pay a penalty every month for the rest of your life, growing as premiums rise. Miss the Medigap window and the damage is worse than money. You lose the guaranteed right to buy the coverage that caps your bills. After that, your health decides whether an insurer will sell to you and at what price. Think about that for a second. A single missed date can follow you for the rest of your retirement. The cruel part is that none of these deadlines feel urgent while you are healthy. They only reveal their teeth years later when you finally need the coverage you skipped. That is the real stakes here, and almost nobody explains it before it is too late. So let me walk you through the whole Medicare calendar, in plain order. First, the enrollment dates and the traps hidden inside them. Then the permanent penalties that attach when you miss those dates. Then the one window that outranks all of them, the Medigap window at 65. Stay to the end because the last one is the point of the whole video. It ties every earlier mistake together and shows you why timing beats everything else. You do not need to become a Medicare expert to get this right. You need to know which dates are load-bearing. By the time we are done, you will know exactly which ones those are, and which one you can never take back. Act 1 is the calendar. Medicare gives you a first shot called the initial enrollment period. It runs for 7 months. It starts 3 months before the month you turn 65. It includes your birthday month, and it ends 3 months after. That is the clean, on-time path. And it is the one they hope you take. 7 months sounds generous, and that generosity is exactly what makes people careless. It feels like plenty of time, so it is easy to assume you will handle it later. Here is what almost nobody tells you about that 7-month window. The 3 months on each side are not the same. Sign up early and coverage lines up smoothly. Wait until after your birthday, and your coverage start date can slip back by weeks. Same window, same 7 months, but the back half quietly costs you more than the front half. Think of the 7-month window as a runway, with your birthday sitting in the middle. The 3 months before your birthday are not filler, they let coverage begin the day you turn 65 with no gap. Land early and the transition is invisible. Land late and you can spend weeks uninsured. For a lot of people, that gap arrives at the worst possible time, right when they left a job. So the first lesson of the calendar is boring but priceless. Do not aim for your birthday. Aim before it. Now suppose you miss that window entirely. Medicare does not leave the door wide open. It gives you a narrow one called the General Enrollment Period. That runs every year from January 1st to March 31st. You can finally sign up, but your coverage and your penalties both begin then. So a missed birthday window can leave you waiting months with no coverage and a bill already ticking. Picture missing your window in April. You now wait until the following January just to apply. That is the better part of a year without Part B, and the penalty meter has been running the whole time. It is the consolation prize, and it is a slow, expensive one. But there is a good reason many people delay on purpose, and this is where the traps live. 65 is no longer a hard retirement age. Plenty of people keep working and keep their insurance. Say you kept working past 65 and stayed on real employer coverage from a real job. In that case, you get a special enrollment period. It gives you 8 months to sign up for Part B after that job or that coverage ends with no penalty at all. That is the escape hatch. It exists so you are not punished for keeping a job with good insurance. For someone still working at a company with a solid health plan, delaying Part B can be the smart move. The system built this on purpose, and used correctly, it saves you money and hassle. Here's the trap, and it is the one that quietly ruins people. COBRA does not count. Retiree coverage from a former employer does not count. Neither of those is active employer coverage, even though they feel exactly like it. You leave your job, you elect COBRA, you assume you are covered and protected. The 8-month clock is already running in the background, and COBRA never paused it. By the time COBRA ends and you go to enroll, your special window can be long gone. Let's be honest. This is a design that punishes people for a very reasonable assumption. The rule is simple to state and brutal to learn the hard way. Remember this simple line, only an active job counts. Act 2 is where being late stops being a one-time inconvenience and becomes a lifelong tax. Start with the Part B late enrollment penalty. It is not a flat fine. It is 10% added to your premium for each full 12 months you could have had Part B, but did not. And it is permanent. It follows you for as long as you are on Medicare. Let me make that concrete. Suppose you delay Part B by 3 years with no valid coverage. That is 3 full 12-month blocks, so your penalty is 30% added to your premium for life. Now here is the part that stings. That 30% is not frozen to today's premium. It recalculates upward as the base premium rises, and the base premium keeps climbing. In 2025, the Part B premium was $185 a month. In 2026, it jumped to $202.90. That is a $17.90 increase in a single year, nearly 10%. The 2027 premium is projected to reach $209.50. So a percentage penalty layered on a rising number grows every single year you hold it. It is a tax that compounds against you while you sleep. And notice what makes it so easy to trigger. It is not a fine for doing something wrong. It is a fine for doing nothing, for a period you probably were not even counting. On top of the premium sits the annual Part B deductible, which reached $283 in 2026. None of these numbers are dramatic on their own. That is exactly how they slip past people. It's not one thing. It is a small percentage on a rising number, quietly, for the rest of your life. Then there is the Part D drug penalty, and it works on the same cruel logic. Part D is the prescription drug side of Medicare, and plenty of healthy people skip it at 65. The reasoning feels sound. You take no pills, so why pay for drug coverage you do not use? Here is the trap in that logic. If you go 63 days or more without creditable drug coverage, a penalty starts building. Creditable coverage just means a plan at least as good as basic Medicare drug coverage. The penalty is 1% of the national base drug premium for every month you went without. 1% sounds like nothing. That is exactly why people ignore it. But it never stops. It is added to your drug premium for life, and the months add up fast. Skip it for 5 years and you are carrying 60 months of penalty. Forever from the day you finally sign up. Go a few years without coverage and those single-digit percents stack into hundreds of dollars a year. Every year for the rest of your retirement. Think about that for a second. You saved a small premium while you were healthy, then paid it back many times over once you were not. 2 penalties, both permanent, both growing, and both triggered by simply not knowing the date. Act 3 is the one that outranks everything else, and it is where we started. The Medigap window. Medigap, also called Medicare Supplement, is the private plan that covers the gaps original Medicare leaves. Here is exactly why those gaps are worth covering. Original Medicare pays 80% of your Part B costs and leaves you the other 20%. That 20% coinsurance has no annual limit, no out-of-pocket maximum. None. On a big hospital year, 20% of an uncapped number is its own kind of nightmare. Medigap is the plan that caps that exposure, which is exactly why the timing rule is so sharp. Your Medigap Open Enrollment is a one-time 6-month window. It opens the month you are both 65 and enrolled in Part B, not a day before. Read that condition again because both halves matter. Age 65 alone is not enough. Part B alone is not enough. You need both at once for the clock to start. During those 6 months, you have what is called guaranteed issue. No insurer can hand you a health questionnaire. No insurer can deny you, delay you, charge you more for your health, or exclude a condition you already have. They must sell to you. This is the one moment in your life when your health history is invisible to the people pricing your plan. You could walk in carrying a stack of diagnoses and still pay the same price as your healthiest neighbor. Miss it, and the entire relationship inverts. In 46 states, insurers can now medically underwrite you. Underwriting simply means they get to study your health before they decide your fate. They pull your records, they see the diabetes or the heart history, and they decide. They can deny you outright. They can surcharge you for the rest of your life. They can sell you a plan that excludes the exact condition you need covered. And here is the bitter twist inside that. The healthier you are, the easier it is to buy in late. The sicker you are, the more you need Medigap, and the harder it becomes to get. The coverage recedes exactly as your need for it grows. That is underwriting doing its job against you. So what does that plan actually cost the people who lock it in on time? For those who buy in during guaranteed issue, the average Medigap premium runs about $217 a month. That is roughly $604 a year for the plan that caps your uncapped 20%. It is not free, and it is not trivial, but it is a known, budgetable number. Set that against a hospital year that has no cap, and the math stops being close at all. You are trading a fixed monthly premium for protection against a bill with no ceiling at all. Now notice the cruel link back to Act 1. The window is tied to Part B enrollment. So if you delay Part B for employer coverage, this Medigap window does not open early to match. It waits for your Part B, and then your 6 months begin. Timing on one date moves the other. Every piece of this calendar is wired to every other piece, which is why one missed date can pull the rest down with it. Now let me be fair because there are real exceptions, and you deserve the honest version. 4 states do not play by the 46-state rule. New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine require guaranteed issue year-round. If you live in one of them, an insurer must sell to you whenever you apply, not just at 65. That sounds like a safety net, and inside those state lines it is. But here's the catch that undoes it. That protection does not travel with you. Retire from Connecticut to Florida, and you land under the 46-state rule the moment you move. The shield stays at the border. There is one more exception worth knowing. If you tried Medicare Advantage instead of Medigap, you get a separate 12-month trial right to switch back to Medigap with guaranteed issue. That is a genuine second chance, but it is narrow. It only applies in that first year on Advantage, and it is a different rule from the 65 window. Wait past that first year, and the trial right is gone too. So yes, there are a few doors left open, but they are narrow, they are local, and every one of them comes with a fence around it. A handful of states, a single trial year, and that is the list. Not one of them protects the person who assumed the door would always be there. The exceptions are real, but people keep misremembering them as much broader protection than they are. So here's the twist that ties every earlier mistake into one idea. Look back at what we covered. Miss the initial enrollment period, and you pay a late fee. Delay Part B, and you pay 10% more per year for life. Skip drug coverage, and you pay 1% per month for life. Every one of those is painful, but every one of them is measured in dollars. You can budget around a penalty. You can absorb a surcharge. Money problems have money answers. You can hate the number and still write the check and stay covered. The Medigap window is a different species of mistake entirely. It does not take your money. It takes your access. It is the one Medicare door that locks behind you and never reopens. After it closes, you can have all the money in the world and still be told no. Your checkbook stops being the deciding factor. Your medical history takes over. So if you remember one line from this whole video, make it this one. Most Medicare mistakes cost you money. This one costs you the right to be covered at all. That is the difference between a bill and a locked door. Every other deadline on the calendar is a question of how much. This one is a question of whether you can get in at all, and weather is the only one you cannot buy your way out of. That is why timing the plain dates you circle matters more than the size of any single check you write. We spend so much energy comparing plans and shaving premiums, and that work matters. But no amount of shopping helps you if the store has already closed its doors to you. The single most valuable thing you can do at 65 costs nothing at all. It is putting the right dates on a calendar. Get the timing right, and every other choice stays open to you. Get it wrong, and the best choices quietly disappear. Picture two people turning 65 in the same month. Call them Ramona and Gil. Ramona treats her 65th birthday like a starting gun. She marks the 6-month window on her calendar and buys her Medigap plan while every insurer still has to say yes. She never thinks about it again. Gil is healthy and busy, and he figures he can buy a supplement whenever he needs one. He is not lazy. He is just certain the door will still be there when he wants it. He lets the window pass without a second thought. For 4 years, nothing happens, and Gil feels smart. Then, illness arrives, the way it eventually does. Ramona hands over her card, and her bills are capped. Gil finally applies for the plan he assumed he could always get, and the insurer reads his new diagnosis and says no. Same birthday, same month, same age, 65. Ramona is protected and Gil is exposed, and the only thing that separated them was a date one of them circled. On the morning they both turned to 65, the same clock started for each of them. One of them heard it ticking. If someone you love is turning 65, send them this before their window opens. Like, subscribe, and get the timing right the first time.